Chicago, 1893. The city is alive, thrumming with the energy of the World's Fair. Progress, invention, and spectacle dazzle visitors from around the globe. But just beyond the fairgrounds, in the neighborhood of Englewood, stands something else entirely. An ominous building, a place that whispers death through its walls. They called it the World's Fair Hotel, but history remembers it by another name, the Murder Castle. This is the story of Dr. H.H. Holmes, America's first serial killer, a man who built a labyrinth of horror and used it to satisfy the darkest urges imaginable. You are about to walk through the corridors of that castle. And I warn you, many who entered never came out. Born Herman Webster Mudgett in 1861, Holmes was not a man of chaos but one of control. He was highly intelligent, meticulous, and, most dangerously, charming. From a young age, Holmes was obsessed with death. As a boy in Gilmanton, New Hampshire, he was rumored to have dissected animals in secret. At medical school, he stole cadavers and learned how to fake deaths for insurance scams. This combination of charisma, intelligence, and sociopathic detachment made him lethal. After assuming the name Henry Howard Holmes, he moved to Chicago and opened a drugstore. It was there, on the corner of 63rd and Wallace, that he began constructing his most diabolical project. A three-story building, designed not for guests, but for victims. The structure began as a hotel, or so it seemed, but Holmes built it in secrecy and stages, constantly firing and replacing workers to ensure no one knew the full layout. The result? A labyrinth of staircases that led to nowhere, doors that opened into brick walls, chutes that dropped to the basement, gas pipes threaded through sealed rooms. There were hidden peepholes, sliding panels, soundproofed chambers. This wasn't a hotel, it was a hunting ground, and Holmes was the predator. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. The 1893 World's Fair brought over 27 million visitors to Chicago. Holmes advertised his World's Fair Hotel to tourists, especially young women seeking work or independence. Many checked in, few ever left. Holmes had perfected the art of luring women, often promising jobs, housing, or romance. Once inside the castle, he would lock them in their rooms, sometimes gassing them to death, other times simply watching them suffocate. He installed an airtight vault where victims could scratch messages into the metal as they died. Then he'd send their bodies down the chute to the basement, where worse horrors awaited. And Holmes was the predator. Eventually, people started asking questions. Missing persons, unpaid debts, strange smells. Holmes fled Chicago and began traveling across the country, continuing his scams and murders. It wasn't until a man named Frank Geyer, a detective from Philadelphia, began investigating the disappearance of 3 children, the Peitzel kids, that the pieces began to unravel. Holmes had killed their father in a fake insurance scheme. Then he murdered the children. Geyer followed Holmes' trail from city to city, Toronto, Indianapolis, Detroit, discovering shallow graves, burned remains, and false identities. Holmes was finally caught in Boston in 1894. But the real horror was yet to be revealed. Soon after Holmes' execution, the Murder Castle caught fire under suspicious circumstances. Some say it was arson. Others believe it was cursed. Much of the structure was destroyed, though a portion was later rebuilt and used for commercial space. Eventually, it was torn down completely. Today, a post office stands where the castle once loomed, and underneath it, still, are the original stone foundations. There are whispers of shadows in the basement, footsteps where no one walks, cries in the night. It is a story of manipulation, of monstrosity masked by manners, of architecture weaponized for evil. Holmes didn't just kill people, he built a factory of death, and he smiled while doing it. So the next time you step into an old hotel, listen carefully to the walls, the floors, and the shadows, because you never know who or what designed the room you're sleeping in.